Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's coverage of the third season of the NASCAR Class C Maconi Sit-Up Shop Fix Series. This evening, we're excited to bring you top-split action for the weekly straight in the field race for the virtual Willow Springs International Raceway in Rosemont, California. Maconi Entertainment is here to bring you action for all types of racing. The weekly Fast Friday series. No matter what you're racing, we can bring the action to life. My name's Justin Prince. Alongside with the move tonight is David Kreutz with DJ Lyon working the controls. Their producer. The camera's provided by the great Ducky Beer. Tonight, David, Willow Springs, a fairly new circuit on iRacing, hits the docket for the first time ever in an official truck series. This is one of the more historic circuits in the country. But with that in mind, what do we expect for the trucks tonight?
A historic circuit, of course, throughout the country, but for the very first time hitting the track here in C-Fix competition. Rosemont, California opened in 1953 with 9 sweeping turns, as you see right there on your screen. Iconic areas such as the Castro Corner and the Budweiser Balcony, a 2.5-mile track, much like Watkins Glen's shorter configuration in terms of length, but a much different experience in terms of driving. Banking from up to 6 degrees, so not a lot of banking throughout the corners. However, major elevation throughout those straightaways. That's what's going to set the tone for tonight's race. Only 20 laps available to all these drivers. It's going to be a very short event, especially since we're only going to see local yellow flags as this race goes on. So not a lot of time. You got to be on it from the very beginning of the race. And as you can see, looking at our Season 1 schedule here, we're coming up around the halfway point after Rockingham. Next, we move on to Myrtle Beach, and this is when the championship race really comes down to those who are the most consistent. We have some title contenders in tonight's session, such as Jack Mace, who just set the first time on the board. I'm expecting to see him alongside our more recognizable names at the front of the field, as we didn't have all too many drivers register in total. Qualifying is still on the move, and we have about 5 minutes left. Drivers are already getting their times in. We still got a few more who are set to take their first.
And keep in mind, since it is a road course, there is more additional time to qualify. But in terms of the field itself, as we approach the halfway point of the season, Colin Keister is currently in a tight battle with Jack Mace entering this week in the point standings. Matt Cucker, along with Peyton Howell and Ryan Andrew, are inside the top 5. Also inside the 1,000-point club, Ryan Zimmer and J-Bo. Just outside that mark so far this season, Dakota Lawn and Julian Melendez and Wesley Parker, with his Corgi, is back in the 10th position. So far, extremely tight at the point standings. And keep in mind, that's without the drops factored in so far. Those expect to be coming into play potentially soon for the official standings. 4 for when it comes to the Fix Series. For reference, there are just 3 with the 9-week season for open competition of the trucks this year. So just about all set to go in the next 4 minutes or so to rip around the racetrack. And this could be the most difficult one yet. The reason we're here on the Big Willow layout is the name of the layout itself to the main racetrack. There are other facilities here, such as the Streets of Willow, the Horse Thief Mile, as well as a kart track, the Playpen, which is a training track, as well as Walt James Stadium, which is a clay oval and paved oval. But when it comes to this circuit, since it's opened in the 1950s, it's hosted a lot of different racers as the fastest road in the West, including some of the best in the 1960s. There's a reason this track at one point hosted the NASCAR Cup Series for 2 years. Yes, they went to here before Riverside.
Right now, you're looking at the challenge here of Big Willow. It's Austin Farr we're riding on board with, and the banking is really going to be, of course, most important factor. These trucks, you got to set them up for the entirety of the track, but with so many changes and how you approach each and every corner and the straightaways, it's very hard to find that perfect balance. Of course, fixed competition, you cannot make many adjustments, so you really have to understand it from the driver's perspective, analyzing the entire circuit and trying to avoid going off track, as you almost saw Farr completely go into the dirt there. Luckily gets away from it. And right now, of course, the pace very close for your front runners at the line. That's a 120.196 for Austin, and you're provisional pole sitter is Henry Morse, just about 0.5 of a second ahead. Spread of the field so far is 5 seconds in terms of time. Henry's going to park it now in his Ford F-150 as Daniel Mosteller gets back on the way. This is Mosteller's last lap, and he's seen some success already this season. One of the fastest at the big tracks like the super speedways, and even though this track is 2.5 miles in length, it might not play in to his biggest strength. That doesn't mean he's going to be slow, however, and you see right now he's taking another lap. He's 7th on the board as it stands, about a 1 second gap between he and Henry Morse. Still looking for some improvements here, and you can see how the cameras sometimes struggle to capture all the major profile changes on the track. Right now Mosteller's taking it in firsthand and hoping to get to grips with it before the race is on its way.
Really making its way to the final corner. The sweeper, they call this, because it's technically two corners where there's a little tiny straightaway here, and that has caught a lot of drivers off guard so far on the platform before the start of turn 9. Stiller, can he improve? He gets up 2/10. That gets him past Cole Hooper in the standings, but no other change outside of that. But just two drivers yet set times, and looking like they're not set times. Curtis Kelly and Daniel Citrano. Most drivers will have to wait the next minute or so, as no one has finished things up in terms of pressing the button that allows you to skip qualifying. So, your keys to win tonight, David, first of all, because tonight we're in uncharted territory. So grab your rabbits here and grab that wings leg. You need some luck.
I think right now, you don't win the race on the first lap, but when you think about how short this race is, 50 miles, only 20 laps, you got to have a good first lap, and I think that will set apart the drivers who are really here to contend for the win and those who are going to end up struggling the further regions of the pack all night long. You have to execute from the very beginning, so if you have that first lap or the first 2 laps go wrong, you end up with contact, you end up with damage off the track. That's going to set you back several seconds, and a lot of these guys, we've seen them before, consistent no matter where we go. You can't afford to make those mistakes, though. Justin, our starting grid is set. Let's find out who starts where.
Let's start things off with about middle of the road apiece for how we break things down tonight. Henry Morse and Carson Bowers on the pole. Separation just about 1/10 of a second. Then Jack Mays, one of the top drivers of the standings this season, alongside Austin Farr, the #1 truck in this field. He's the only driver above a 4K outside Henry Morse, the only driver above a 5K tonight. Jonathan Oates, known for racing in FTF competition, he starts 5th. Expect him to be keeping close to the field alongside Daniel Mosteller. And then at the midpoint of tonight's field, it's Cole Hooper. First time in a while we've seen him on a broadcasted race. He's amongst those that's worked with Jack Mace over the years.
And you'll see Bryant Miller going to be position number 8 right beside Hooper. He's outside of the 120 territory. It's a 121.4 for him. The boss man, Jeffrey Maconi, he'll be starting 9th tonight, and he's going to be right next to A.J. Green, who concludes the top 10. His number 10 machine there with a 122.572. Tom Golker is going to be in 11th, 122.748, and Joey Masevich has himself there in 12th with a 122.899, also running for Maconi setup shop. Final driver to take a time is going to be Idon Saunders with a 124.412, and the lap time fall off in those final few drivers much more noticeable, about a 5-second spread as it was in practice and qualifying. 2 drivers not taking a time, Curtis Kelly and Daniel Satriano. It does not look like Daniel right now is with the field. However, now we're going to find out of the drivers who are on our starting grid who's got what it takes as the pace car is set to move momentarily.
Again, 20 laps are up on the board today. Here's a look at your Maconi Setup Shop race analysis tonight. Maconi Setup Shop, the official setup shop of eNASCAR. As mentioned, 20 laps the length around this 2.5-mile circuit. So you multiply that about 50 miles. 40 miles per hour the pit road speed limit, but not expecting pit stops here in this one. 1 green, white, or checkered attempts usually available, but not expecting that to come into play with it being a road course. No fast repairs, and everyone using the fixed iRacing setup for tonight's festivities. So, as we look at the temperature readings, around 87 degrees Fahrenheit on this late January in-sim day, David. Your final thoughts before we get things started around this twisty 9-turn circuit.
The numbers might be lying. Not a lot of drivers here, a lot of room on the track, but by no means is it going to be an easy night of racing here in Willow Springs, because it's going to be all about whether or not you can survive the way you drive the truck around this 2.5-mile circuit. A lot of the times these road courses, you have to keep in mind your mistakes might set you back more than anyone else's here, and if you're consistent, hit your marks, keep in mind the elevation and sometimes the banking too, and keep yourself out of the dirt here. You're going to have a much better night. Consistency might be better than raw speed. The next car is set to come in this time by Henry Morris and Carson Bowers will let this field loose, and we'll have ourselves 20 laps before we decide a winner here in California.
Just one more sector before we get things started. Who's your favorite to win this?
I think right now, when you look at the field, Henry Morse definitely has the speed. And it's a bit cliche to, of course, say the pole sitter, but he really put it up there, top of the board in qualifying, had the speed in practice as well. He's backed it up so far. I think right now it will be his race to lose, of course. Mistakes are prevalent on road courses. If there's anyone else, I think we might see a good night out of Austin Farr with that high I rating. The numbers, as I said beforehand, they don't tell the whole story, but here in road courses, it's the oval regulars against some of the ringers, and that's when it comes really hard to tell who's got it and who doesn't. Keep an eye out for those drivers, and your regulars, of course, like Mace, Oates, Mosteller, they're not going to give in either. It's going to be a fun fight till the very end between the both groups.
So the Pirelli World Challenge winner and Rookie of the Year with 13 driver championships, Henry Morris is in control of the field. He'll start alongside his young buddies and Carson Bowers, Jack Mace, and as well Austin Farr. The reason mentioning that the radio is very much enjoying the presence of Henry, as he's the one who looks to set us apart today. iRacing pace car is off. Barney the flagman in control. Henry Morse wants to go right now. Green flag is out. We're underway from Willow Springs for the first time in C-Fix history. Morse starts up on the right side. Carson Bowers looking for the lead already. He goes inside of the JDR Graphics truck. Austin Farr in his Liberty University Flames machine looking to try and find the inside line as they go for the first time today to the inside through Rabbit's Ear.
And already going to be a side-by-side battle for the race lead. Carson Bowers will not give in and finds himself neck and neck as they begin to take it through the hills of Willow Springs. Savage going to be in the dirt. He gets away nicely, and the field is going to be clean as they get through the opening sector. Austin Farr goes a bit wide with Jack Mace now side-by-side, and you're looking at the back bumper of Carson Bowers here as he will settle in to the second position. Jonathan Oates very close to falling off the track there, and now it's going to be all about the meticulous nature of road course racing, finding every minute gap that could be taken advantage of. And with Bowers now on the back end of your race leader, he's all in on finding what he can do to take that spot back and put himself on the top of the board. Morse having it so far, and it looks like he's got himself a little gap, but these gaps, they can change at a moment's notice. Jonathan Oates going to be seeing a little bit of aggressive driving from Cole Hooper right behind him. Nothing right now, though, as they look to separate themselves once again, and the field is mostly single file. No major troubles, and it looks like the opening lap has gone solid with Henry Morris in control.
The only driver off the racetrack right now is Daniel Citrano due to technical issues. Everybody else staying going. Today's S.O.F, by the way, 2,336 for those wanting to keep track. But so far, top 5, top 7 or so, in fact, staying in the train. Here's Cole Hooper. He's someone who's ran with organizations like Brian Kuhn's team as well. He's ran with the organization of John Jones a couple times over the years. He's right now at the tail of the train. The separation amongst your top 7 is about 2 seconds already as to go up the Budweiser chicane.
And you'd see this separation more and more if you look at the top of your screen. Looks like Curtis Kelly finding trouble, 19 seconds behind the rest of the field. He's barely in the frame there, but in a completely different portion of the track. Really not going to be contention all night long, save for a catastrophe. And that's what I meant by saying this opening first few lap portion, it's got to matter for you if you want a chance to go fight for the race win. Jeff Maconi seeing a bit of pressure now. It's AJ Green right behind him, and these two are going to be in their own world as they try to chase down Bryant Miller once again. The smaller packs are beginning to form as drivers find their pace and begin to run with drivers who are around the same speed. Carson Bowers is now looking lower, but it's still going to be Henry Morris in control. And of course, the best of the best rise to the front of the field. Austin Farr has made his way up into third, and we're looking at an instant replay right now of what just happened with Joey Masevich, and there's Curtis Kelly, I believe, as he goes all the way down and in, and that's how the driver of that number 20 DeWalt machine lost that time.
First time we've seen that mistake today. Expect that potentially a couple times. These curbs here, they hurt, to say the very least. They are the tall variety, the hard and tall variety for the racetrack. As we make our way back to the top of the second sector, Budweiser balcony, should say, up to Monroe Ridge. Morse is doing well in terms of settling the pace in the 120s to start. Bowers, Austin Farr keeping bumper to bumper. One mistake, and the entire field looks like they could be ready to pounce here, David.
And it's going to be all about using the opportunity you have, even though it's a risk. Those mistakes, they can sometimes put you at jeopardy as well, but you got to go for positions here. It's all about racing for every spot. Maconi's going to be high here. They're side by side. AJ Green is not going to let off, nor is Maconi, and he really goes wide there and almost uses up too much of the track. And it looks like he's going to get a bit too much out of AJ Green, and wiggles around again. And that's the difference between using everything and getting away with it, and the more likely outcome you end up a bit worse off at the end of it. Joey Masevich also sees big trouble there. He slides all the way up, and luckily doesn't go up the steep incline with a pipe right in front of him. And Masevich has to get back on the way. Nicely, he's going to reverse it, and he's driving again, still ahead of Curtis Kelly, who's in the back of your frame once more. Those mistakes, if you can take advantage of them and, of course, make the spot up, you're in a much better circumstance. But as the drivers clump closer again to the Budweiser balcony, you gotta acknowledge the risk, and sometimes you have to step off the pedal.
Now, all of this as well. Fourth on back is starting to lose a little bit of ground. Jack Mace starting to have some troubles trying to keep up grip-wise. And keep in mind, your top three of the racetrack, all with significant road course experience, whether on iRacing or even more so in the real world. We talked about Morse's background. Austin Farr has experience in the NASCAR competition. He's done well in the road courses in its college series. Carson Bowers in the middle of this. He's a longtime go-kart racer, runs professionally, in fact, for Team USA. The 16-year-old also races for North Force, one of the top technical alliances on the platform.
And you can see there, Bowers almost looking down to the bottom side once again, one of the quickest drivers on the platform. A lot of these guys you might recognize, of course, for their oval contributions, but if you're a well-rounded driver, you can really make it work no matter the type of circuit. Bowers here is holding his own in the middle of this three-driver pack that's slowly pulling away. Jack Mace is with Daniel Mostello right now, but these top three are looking to be the class of the field for the rest of the night. 16 laps to go already. We've made our way just about through the first quarter of which, and you can see now the JDR graphics number 42 smack in the middle, whereas Daniel Mosteller is in the middle of another pack here, and Jonathan Oates, the final driver within group number 2. Driving for 73 Creative today, it was announced that he will be painting the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series paint schemes for Nitro Circus Racing, a brand new operation starting up for the 2024 season. And Jonathan Oates, who we've seen his paint schemes time and time again, taking that opportunity to bring his designs to the next level. Alongside that paint scheme success, he's the 2021 FTF Grand National Series champion and a driver in his own right. And you can see right now, holding up well in the 7th spot, and that is no small feat given the level of the drivers just ahead of him, as it looks like you can still see the front of the field from his, of course, windshield.
And right now, for reference, Oates running 121.1s. They're starting to fall off a fair bit past the 120s for most of the field. Surprisingly, though, no major shuffles in the racing order so far. The top three have stayed lockstep. Bowers started making a mistake, though. Farr not able to capitalize, coming off his fastest lap of the race. Still no space to make a pass. And that's something noticed a lot in terms of testing, but also in terms of what we're already seeing on track itself. This is a very difficult track to actually get a pass on.
And 2 of the fastest laps of the whole session just got put up last time by, and they were only but separate by 5/1000ths of a second. Henry Morse put up a 120.491, 5/1000ths of a second slower than that of Austin Farr, and it goes to show how quick they both are. And Carson Bowers, he's still there, but doesn't look to be exactly as quick, as it looks like Idon Saunders has a little bit of trouble and is continuously fading back there at a speed of about 40 miles an hour for the number 9. Saunders is in trouble, and he's hopping right over, and he gets back on the track.
Well, that got a little bit dicey back there. Well, that's a potential way to make a pass. Somehow, no track course cut penalty. I don't know how Saunders didn't just get a black flag, because that is something that usually triggers a pit road penalty, not just a black flag for a time cut. Let's take a look. Because he cut 3 or 4 corners, David.
I mean, I think it has to be the speed in that instance, going at about 40 miles an hour throughout all of it, but you're right. That's surprising that it didn't trigger a penalty, and Saunders actually got back on the pedal and tried to make a pass, and did. Tom Golker is now right behind Saunders, and despite the off-road expedition, this number 12 machine is still going, and the trouble has not deterred him from racing as hard as he can. That's an off-road night for Idon Saunders, and even though out of winning contention, at least for now, definitely having a story to tell for the end of this race. The top 3 still locked in. Looks like Austin Farr moving back just slightly, and Carson Bowers actually the quickest of the top 3 that time through. Morse and Farr ran the exact same lap time. Carson Bowers about 2/100ths of a second ahead. Minute differences once again. They're coming back into play. Keep an eye on the numbers a lap after lap, as Saunders is once again in trouble at about 45 miles an hour.
And that's currently, for reference, still in the 11th, 12th positions. No surprise, the black flag is now out for Saunders, it's worth noting. As you look at the leaders rip their way down the front stretch. Best chance for Bowers to think about a move. If he doesn't make it, Farr might. Looks like Bowers gonna go up the inside. A dive up to turn 1. Here contact through Castro corner. Farr with a better run than both of them. Where does he go? He goes for second through Rabbit's Ear.
And now it's going to be neck and neck again. Shades of our first lap. Carson Bowers found room, but he's going to be relegated to the outside line, which is a big, big troublesome spot to hold consistently throughout every corner, especially when you see how good Henry Morse is at continuously defending. By the time they hit the Budweiser balcony again, it's just no use for Carson Bowers, and he has to reset and put himself back in the position of the driver who is on the chase rather than the one who is being chased. A very nice maneuver to put himself on the outside line again and try to go side by side. With the way Henry Morse has been driving around the circuit, very challenging to make a pass on him, especially without a major mistake. That time by was a 120.777 for Henry Morse, so by no means it was a slow lap. However, Bowers just had that run coming down the front straightaway to maybe make something happen, and he's going to try to set himself up once again. That's really the best opportunity to make a pass, especially still with 13 laps to go. There's time, and if you're within half a second of the leader by this point, you should be in it for the long haul, going for the rest of the night.
I'm going to go next time by at the stripe. For reference, the top 3 have the advantage by more than a second, nearly a second and a quarter, in fact. So we've already seen the attempts for Bowers to go up Castro corner. We've seen, though, the difficulty out of Rabbits here. How exactly do you get this pass for the lead, David, in your opinion here, now knowing if you tried inside in Castro corner, you're likely in the risk of losing a spot back if you don't clear by Rabbits Ear?
I think right now there's a few ways you can go about getting that lead, first and foremost, and I don't think we want to see this. I think it's going to come down potentially to some last lap shenanigans where drivers get desperate, and with how close everyone is, I would not be surprised if that were the case, where there could be a bit of pushing and shoving that leads to some tempers flaring at the end. That's one way to do it, but I think right now with the way these guys are battling at the front of the field, they do not want to cause trouble, and I really think it comes down to putting the pressure on and going going full on for the intimidation tactic, which can be troublesome, of course, when you keep in mind these tires are beginning to wear, and the track temperature is, of course, something else to keep an eye out for. As it stands, the weather is going to give us 88 degrees as our track temperature as opposed to 78 in the air, so it's a difference, not the biggest, but those are going to warm up the Goodyear rubber that these trucks have, and that can make it a bit slipperier, not as much grip, and you can't be as confident with your truck all throughout the track, and that confidence sometimes bleeds into how you drive going for positions, especially for the lead. You might settle, you might go even riskier than that. It's going to be risk management and assessment, and it might boil over at the very end the way things are looking.
There's that possibility. With them being so lockstep, these three, mind you, are within a tenth a lap on average pace of each other. In fact, it's even closer. Take a guess how close.
Well, we've got the numbers here, but yeah, the viewer should.
I was going to say, if your answer was 5 1,000ths in the past 5 laps, David, you're wrong. It's even closer. It's 4 1,000ths.
Tell you this much, it just goes to show how good they've been all night long. Those front runners keeping that consistent pace. I mean, we've seen them in sync before, and the 1,000 after 1,000 difference being so minute is a testament to just how good these drivers are keeping up with each other. That's the reason Jack Mace is so far behind. He's over 2 seconds at back now, whereas the top 3 guys really haven't gotten much slower over the entirety of this event. Matter of fact, Morse looks like he dropped at 120.47. That's his fastest lap all throughout the night.
Meanwhile, let's take a look at a replay. Jeffrey Maconi. That's not the racetrack, Jeff. On the bright side, he didn't find the hillsides where there's a big green wall to welcome you to your track cut out of turn 9.
And luckily, Maconi gets out of it without any major damage. I mean, currently running in 10th, so he's still in the top 10, of course, and has some room to get back up to maybe someone like Bryant Miller. But either way, lucky to not have anything worse coming to that scenario. Through the Budweiser balcony, your top 3 drivers go at it again. Soon to be Jack Mace following. And you're still looking at how Carson Bowers is in the middle of this one, and he just saw the fastest lap of the race get put up right in front of him. A 120.47. Halfway through this race, and there are no signs of fall off for Henry Morse, and that time by came in at about 109 miles an hour overall throughout the entirety of the circuit. So clearly, as quick as he's been all throughout this event, Bowers and Favre have not fallen all too far back, but you can see now there's beginning to be a gap pulled by that number 2 machine as he's going to come across the line yet again, hoping to extend it even further. Maybe some lesser feeling of pressure for Henry, and he's allowing himself to run even harder as Jonathan Oates is going to go low with Cole Hooper, and they're looking both sides of the track, but Hooper shuts it down.
Hooper's still up 2 spots. He's tied for the most positions gained, mind you, in the race. And those types of defensive moves, with how short the straightaway is and how deep you have to be on the brakes, possibly from behind, could be partly why Hooper's trying to block it so much. He nearly spins it. Oates able to hold on to it as well, as they both get a little bit argy-bargy. Again, this is just for 5th.
And these 2 drivers have been close as long as we have been watching them, and it looks like even more so right now. I mean, Jonathan Oates on the back bumper, Cole Hooper still trying to defend here, and while they're both not done with each other, it looks like Hooper's on the better end of it, at least as they come back down the Budweiser balcony and head in for another lap in the coming sectors. Jack Mace has been able to separate himself. Daniel Mosteller is still waiting in the wings, and who's to say Demos can't get a piece of it if these 2 drivers cause each other enough trouble.
In turn, though, he's starting to run away to be able to get at least a little bit of breathing room. You know who he's catching up to? Jack Mace, because Mace had some slow-ups in the past sector. Still within about 7 truck lengths to him. Now he has a bit of a slow-up out of turn 9. Here's the 10 from behind. Oates is trying the inside line. Already past halfway. Oates wants the spot. Hooper not giving up easy. Oates nearly squeezes him. The switchback, though, fails on Oates as he's pushed up the track by Hooper.
This will bring Daniel Mosteller in the conversation. He's now only a truck length away with 8 laps to go. It could be time to push through. Demos clearly quicker off the exit, and now he goes high with Jonathan Oates. Going to be both them drivers working with each other as they go in. Now Oates gets the spot. Could be Daniel Mosteller going for 2, and that he does. 2 for 1 pass, and it's going to be Cole Hooper, the big loser after that one, as they'll rush downhill once again. Oates waiting for the perfect opportunity. He'll take it, bring Daniel Mosteller with him, and Hooper slides and luckily does not fall off the track there. Could have been disaster, but instead it's going to be mitigated. He'll still lose a lot of time at once.
That's what can happen if you overcook that one section today, because it's so deceiving, that run through Monroe Ridge or towards that section, David, because you think gas it, it's downhill. Nope. You end up having it so straight angled for the left-hander. You're off the racetrack if you try and floor it.
And that's exactly what we see out of the Cole Hooper there. And you can see now it looks like one driver's really managed everything perfect. Henry Morse, even making up some time now, more so on Austin Farr and Carson Bowers, and he's far and away now with Bowers still running in the middle of the top 3, and he almost slips up there. Austin Farr is still looking, and he'd love to get there in that second position. I'm sure right now for Farr, the job is not done, and he'll keep looking until the night is over to make one more position. He goes 2-wheeling there. The curbs, as you mentioned, Justin, they can catch you out. You don't want to end up bobbling over there, because if you end up with the elevation, you could go too far, might end up rolling around. You don't want to see that, especially in the first race here at Willow Springs in C-Fixed action. It looks like still it's Austin Farr trailing Carson Bowers. Not much else has been done, but Bowers is slowly but surely breaking away as well. Could be short term, but could be room again to make up time and keep it.
Still lockstep amongst the top 3 up at the front of the field. Morse, again, has been one of those who has minimized mistakes. And keep in mind, this is a local racetrack for him. He's raced at several different circuits in the region, including Wills, California. No, not this track. How about Farr? He's making some pushing and shoving contact with Bowers. Move him to second as everyone's favorite game, push everyone off the racetrack for a spot, continues.
And there we have it. Another move going to be made with aggression on mind. It's going to be very close there for Carson Bowers. He's still going, but Austin Farr, he thinks enough is enough, and he will make it around. Runner-up for Austin Farr. Still Henry Morse gaining even more time, and you have to wonder if Bowers has anything left in the tank to go back and chase that spot one more time. I don't think he's done by any means, and we're going to look back once again. Bowers not happy. Take a look one more time here as they rush down the front straightaway. It's a block once, and you can't go back for 2. Bowers is going to hit the brakes, of course, and jam it deep. Keep up there with Austin Farr before being sent wide. And there's nothing you can do besides let off, reset, and go for it once again.
I mean, the alternative is obviously not preferred for either of them. But Bowers has cooked the tires from that. He's in the grass, and he's gone for the battle for second. He's now lost too much time, coming to 5 laps to go. Need a lot of luck to get back up there. Same for Austin Farr. He's nearly 2 seconds back of the race leader. Morse trying to dictate the tempo. Still running the 120s. He's the only driver able to do so right now.
And with all the battling right behind him, that's the scenario that really makes a winner, and doesn't always come down to you individually. Looks like right now those mistakes being made, the aggression of Austin Farr and Carson Bowers, knowing how much speed they have, knowing the potential they had to make the moves at the proper time, and everything falling apart, that's really what did them both in. Bowers cooked up the tires, and Austin Farr, well, he got that second spot. He's still a second and a half out in regards to making anything up on Henry Morse. It's a slim chance. Doesn't mean the job is done, but right now it looks like we're going to have ourselves a bit of trouble with Joey Misevich. She was just on pit road, and looks like he's just backed out. 5 laps to go. 11 drivers still on the circuit, and the race of attrition has taken a few. Most of the drivers, though, are on the lead lap and doing pretty well for themselves as it stands. We'll take a look back one more time here as Misevich makes it up the Budweiser balcony. He looks to have made it through the peak, and no chance to turn back there. Spins it around, gets back in the right direction. And it looks like from there, just going to try to get back on the descent.
And in turn, as you mentioned, he's parked it. So that means a grand total of 3 drivers out, 1 do not start after one driver attempted to take part in qualifying, but couldn't put up a time. But back over to Henry Morse. One time in eNASCAR competition, he was one of those who raced the University of California, Berkeley. If you look to the backdrop of things, and amongst those who competed at the road course, specifically at Watkins Glen back in 2022. So an interesting pipeline and timeline when it comes to the driver up at the point with what he's been able to do in the real world with a lot of experience built up, but also that eNASCAR virtual experience in a truck on a road course that we've seen really carry over.
And a lot of eNASCAR drivers, as you mentioned, in this field. Actually, you can look right behind and look for Austin Farr as well. He's got the truck banner for the College Series. Goes to show he's also representing eNASCAR at the same time. Liberty University there with the flames on the back bumper. And he's still holding his own in second. And while losing a bit of time, he's still firmly within the podium. And Carson Bowers, we've also seen him as well in competition, eNASCAR level. I'm sure we're going to see him a lot more often in the future here. 3 quick drivers with experience in the sim, and that's what sets them apart. They were close early, they might not be anymore, but still with 3 laps to go, they've all been the class of the field. Henry Morse has been the driver above them all. And how's about we look further back? Right now, that's Jonathan Oates, who's in the 4th spot. He's going to hold his own right outside the podium. Just a few tenths back, you also look at Daniel Mosteller with Jack Mace, who was originally running out just outside the podium, now in position number 6. And Cole Hooper, who was oh so aggressive previously, and the all-black number 4, really hasn't panned out for him. He's running in 7th, now behind Jack Mace, and see him there as he goes up toward the Budweiser balcony. AJ Green got by Jeff Maconi earlier, and he's going to run in 8th right now with a Bryant Miller 8 seconds behind AJ and 25 seconds behind your leader, holding his own in the 9th spot, Jeff Maconi. You're not going to see him for a while from this point onward. He is a total of 15 seconds behind Bryant, and now is the final man inside the top 10. He's in the battle now with Tom Golker, and Tom runs 11th, just a second back on Jeff, as Jeff's going to get just outside the track limits there, and he's playing a risky game here with 3 laps to go.
Take a look at Golker, and I'm not going to get into the paint scheme on the track. Let's just put it that way. That is a longtime fan meme scheme. Let's not look at it. But let's get to the race in of itself. Less than 2 laps to go for the race leaders, with right now Henry Morse controlling the tempo. His home race has been just about perfect. He's led every single lap. And right now, while Austin Farr is slowly chipping the gap back, it's going to be difficult unless Morse makes any slip-ups here for that one to get into position.
A 1.5 seconds is the gap right now, and it looks like I think the mistake is going to be the big difference maker. If we see one, that is. The odds, they're still slim, but of course not impossible. Farr's going to get very loose that time through, and as he's on the descent, he has to put the power back down quickly for any chance. Still gaining time slightly, but with the distance that's already been put up, I think right now when it comes to Henry Morse's race, he's just got to cruise from here on out, not make any big changes to how he's run every lap to this point. But as it stands, still could be a possibility Morse loses out. 1 second now exactly. I think Farr's giving it all he has in this lap. It might be the quickest we've seen all night long if he can push any further. And 9/10 of a second still coming down. About a 1/2 second in 1 lap. And the final lap is coming this time by.
He's going to need to put on a record pace for the final time around. White flag is out for Willow Springs. Berkeley, California's Henry Morse looking to hold on. Austin Farr looking to completely close the gap in the span of less than 2.5 miles. Can he do it is the huge question. He's slower in Sector 1.
And still going to be about less than a second exactly. He made up major gains last time by through the second half of the circuit. It all came down to that descent through the Budweiser balcony. If there's anything there, if there's anything left, we're going to see it when they come past the peak here and they drive down as hard and as fast as they can. Now it's Morse on the move. Just behind Austin Farr is still there, and it's going to be the sweeping back and forth turns with the elevation pushing them down where anything can come through as a difference. 9/10 of a second flat. Far does appear to be slightly quicker, but I don't think there's going to be anything major as they come through now. The front stretch will be determined, and I think it's all going to come down to Ascend, if any, to beat Henry Morse as he comes through one final time.
Coming to the checker flag, one more attempt to lunge for Farr. A little too far. Morse a little bit slower through the final corner. Not enough for Farr to catch up. For Henry Morse, the checker flag wins. He picks up the first ever victory in C-Fix Top Split competition, the Maconi Setup Shop C-Fix Series. Second place going to Farr. Carson Bowers holds on to the top 3. Oates and Masteller in the top 5. So, for the first time, it's Henry Morse who gets the first W. We'll take a break. When we come back, the post-race results. You're watching Maconi Entertainment for coverage of the C-Fix Series S.O.F race from Willow Springs.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to post-race coverage for the Maconi Setup Shop C-Fix Series. S.O.F race brought to you once more by Maconi Setup Shop and Maconi Entertainment. The home for setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and more. The official setup shop of NASCAR as Henry Morse picks up the first victory in S.O.F history and C-Fix Top Split history at Willow Springs. Austin Farr and Carson Bowers the top 3. Jonathan Oates finished in 4th today, with Daniel Masteller in 5th. Jack Mason 6th, Cole Hooper in 7th. A.J. Green went from 10th to 8th. Brian Miller very quietly ran in 9th. Jeffrey Maconi held on to the top 10. The rest of your runners on screen include Tom Gulker, who was the last in the lead lap, and your DNFs, Masevich, Saunders, Kelly, and a DNS for Citrano due to tech issues. So that's a look top to bottom at your running order here today in this one. Why don't we take the moment, first of all, to talk with one of the drivers standing on by. Carson Bowers, in fact, is standing on by. Carson, you're in the top 3 for this one. How are you feeling about this run today on the road course?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good time. Definitely a really interesting combination for this week, but, it's definitely drives a lot different than some other road courses, just with how you have to save and how you can kind of use the dirt and some other stuff for your advantage. But I mean, good job to Henry. He kind of drove out all of us. So wish we could have been second, but, made some mistakes at the end there that kind of cost me, but still good finish.
Talk us through the battle between intern with Henry, Austin, yourself, because over the radio, it seemed you guys have some good chemistry. It seemed you guys were lockstep into the final 5 laps as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're all just out there to win the race. And I mean, I've never had a problem with any of them. And so I wasn't going to race them hard. And, you know, Henry made a mistake that one time. We got to the inside, but I mean, he's raced me hard and I respect it. So definitely don't want to wreck anybody, but it was definitely a really good battle. They kept me on my toes, couldn't make any mistakes. And obviously we saw that at the end, how Austin got around me.
So on that note here, what is that experience in turn like driving around a racetrack like this? Because it's the first time eNASCAR in its C-Fix competitions have ever gone to Willow Springs. It's the first time, technically, if you want to be particular about it, NASCAR's really had any virtual or real presence since 1957-ish. How was it in the truck?
Yeah, you know, it definitely drives a lot differently than we'd expect for a road course. And it's a lot of just off throttle time and being consistent. You know, with this setup this week, it kind of, the front end gets really tight, and so you have to kind of conserve. So we were only really touching full throttle down the straightaways, and it's just stuff like that where if you make one mistake or slide a little bit, you're going to be off for the rest of the race. And I mean, you saw how Henry was able to do that really well, so that he wouldn't slide. So definitely a really fun combination. And I mean, you saw everybody was really close to the beginning, which is really fun for road course racing. Especially I enjoy doing all the road courses that come on the schedule. So definitely a huge twist in the road course game, but I definitely can't complain. It was a lot of fun.
Well, on that note, congratulations once again on the top 3 run today, Carson.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Once again, that's Carson Bowers. I'd like to thank him for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on Maconi Entertainment. The next time out is another step back in time. A track no longer existing in the real life, Myrtle Beach Speedway. David, that one could be an interesting one and should be another wild short track.
We go from a road course to a short track, and the chaos remains the same. That one's going to be as exciting as ever. I mean, Myrtle Beach, always going to be well remembered by racing fans, despite the fact, of course, you don't have it here any longer. I think with these trucks and this package, we're going to have ourselves a fantastic event alongside some of the best in the C-Fix business. We saw some new faces tonight. Maybe they'll join us again to fight with the best in the championship race, January 22nd. We'd love to see you there.
Let's see how things play out, to say the very least, for Myrtle Beach. Once again, 7:15 the start time there. But on that note, I'd like to thank the race sponsor, Maconi Setup Shop, as well as our broadcast partner, Maconi Competizone. For the action tonight, it was myself, Justin Prince, alongside David Kreutz in the booth for TJ Line producing. Thanks to our viewers for watching tonight's racing action. We hope you stay tuned to our social media pages for next race, which, oh, by the way, is in a few minutes for TKC. Thanks to the entire staff for their work in bringing this racing to you. It's been a production of Maconi Entertainment. We'll see you next time in less than 10 minutes.